What do you think is the most hated chess opening of all time? You can give your answer in the comments. I bet that most of the answers will be London system and French defense. And the French defense is so hated that even the French defense players hate the French defense. I am a French defense player myself and I can confirm that. But today we're going to learn a very interesting variation to play as white against the French defense. But if you are not subscribed to the channel yet, please click the button down below and subscribe to the channel for more. Welcome to the channel, I'm Victor, this is What the Fork Chess, and I post videos pretty much every day with chess tips for improvement. But enough talk, let's talk about this variation. And this is a very simple and easy variation to play against the French defense, and your French defense opponents will actually hate when they see that. So you're gonna start the game normally with the French defense typical position, and you are going to play the exchange variation. And something funny that happens a lot when I play this, I used to play this variation a lot. Nowadays I'm playing some other lines, but this is a great variation to play as white, is that a lot of French defense players hate playing the exchange variation. It's the most hated variation for the French defense players, so they actually hate playing this variation. And I've had this happening to me like a couple of times, where French defense players, especially in Blitz online games, they simply resign the game right here. As soon as you take this pawn, they resign the game because they hate playing the French exchange, because it's famous to be very boring and drawish and symmetrical, so people don't like that. But you're gonna break the symmetry right away with this move c4, and this is the Montecarlo variation, and it's a very aggressive way to break the symmetry and start to fight for a win as white. And your opponent might not be very familiar with that because they don't study the French the French exchange variation that much, because the most common ones are the advance or maybe the Tarrasch and other classical variations, but probably they're spending time studying the advance, the Rubinstein, and some other variations of the French defense, and they don't actually look carefully at this variation, so you might get your opponent out of their comfort zone. So you play c4 to break the symmetry right away. You are threatening to take this pawn. You're not going to take it. You're just going to let your opponent take your pawn, and you're going to play a very simple setup. What you're going to do is you're going to play this knight out, you're going to play these two knights, and then you're going to develop your bishop probably here. You can go here if you want as well. It's an option. And you're going to castle short. Your opponent's probably going to take here as soon as you move the bishop, trying to win a tempo against you. You can take the pawn again. And if this file is open, they're going to try to check your king. Sometimes you're going to have to use this bishop or even this bishop to block the check. It's going to happen sometimes, so be aware of that. And your knight being here, this bishop probably is going to come here, try to pin. So if they take, you just take back with the pawn. This is the basic idea, okay? So we're going to see some examples here, and then maybe we're going to see a game played by a grandmaster named Normunds Miesis. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, which is a very powerful, strong player. He plays this position not exactly in this move order. He plays the English c4 first, but via transposition we get to the same position. So we're going to take a look at that game too. Very short game, so you can have an idea. So knight f6 probably will be played by your opponent here. You can play your setup, developing your knights. After your opponent castles, you can develop your bishop to e2. And you hope, probably, you can expect your opponent's going to take this pawn now that you moved your bishop to take advantage of your move and make you move that same piece twice. And this is going to win a tempo. It's a nice strategy. And after this file is open, they're going to check your king. You can't simply escape. With castling here, you're going to have to block this check. So you can go ahead and play bishop to e3. And from here, this position, your opponent might play a variety of moves, but these are the three most common ones. Two of them are very bad. Some are playable. The other is playable. But you have an isolated queen pawn. A lot of people say this is a weakness, but I mean, you need to break the symmetry, so you have to give up something. Maybe this pawn can be pushed later on and try to attack. You can even sacrifice it and have some open lines. What's important here is that you don't have a boring symmetric drawish game. You have some attacking game, some open lines, and you can fight for a win. Probably the most common move here is knight to g4. We also have other moves, bishop to e6. And oops, let me just go back here. And another possible move here is knight to d5, which is, I mean, very simple to play in this case. If your opponent goes here, you just castle and you follow a simple game plan. If your opponent takes here, if they ever take this, you just take back, right? So this is the idea. They develop the bishop and you play queen to d3. This move will be very typical in this situation, in this variation, because you're gonna want this piece here to solidify everything, it's defending everything, and then maybe you can bring your rooks to the open files to attack as well. So this is an idea you can play here. Of course, your opponent can go and play bishop to e6 here. You can go ahead and trade the bishops. You can castle. This is the idea you had right from the start. And here, it's very possible to play this move. It's a very common move that we can go for. And this is another move that is very typical in this variation. You can go here to solidify everything, or you can come here and try to put pressure on this pawn right here. What your opponent can do here is to just trade. You are not going to take back. They expect you to trade, but you're going to attack that pawn first. Here, you are also hitting this rook in the corner. They think, I can go ahead and hit your rook in the corner as well. And that's true, they can do that, but you can take the rook, they take your rook, and they forget that you can take their bishop too, so you are up material in this position, right? So it's a good way to play this. But the most challenging move here, I would say, it's when your opponent plays knight to g4. It seems like a scary move, but it's not really good actually. What they can do here is trade the knight for the bishop and have the bishop pair, maybe trying to win a pawn here if you take back with the pawn. What you're going to do in this position is you are going to sacrifice the bishop. So you have this very powerful sacrifice attack here. You take the pawn with check, your opponent takes back with the king, then you check. With a double attack, you're going to win your bishop back and a pawn, so you are up material here. And you're probably going to win more things here later on. Probably this pawn is going to be one. So you can take this bishop, threatening to take the pawn over there. You take back after the trade, and then you can go ahead and attack that pawn. Your opponent's going to try to attack your queen here. And what you're going to do is trade pieces. And then you can go ahead and give this very fancy check over here, right? Attacking your opponent's king. They're going to have to do something about this. Maybe they can sacrifice the exchange. But you're going to castle with check here. The open file was going to favor you. And your opponent has not many good things to do. You can take this rook and take the other rook in the corner. This is a very nice variation where you are up material. You have 2 pawns extra. Your pawn structure is not really good, but your opponent's is not really good either. And you are up the exchange as well. So this is a really good position for white. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this variation. I'm going to record another video talking about a game played by this grandmaster that I just mentioned, Normunds Miedzis, which is a transposition of the same position here, but I won't have time to record this in just one video. I'm going to save some time for another video so I can explain the moves with more time, of course. So if you liked the video, please leave your like. Leave your comment down below as well. Try to come up with a refutation for this variation, please. It would be amazing to have your contribution in the comments. And if you liked, you can also subscribe to the channel for more. And thank you for watching. I see you guys in the next video.